Hey everybody, welcome back. It is Mike Brown here with Remax in Toronto, and it is a rate cut Wednesday. Yesterday was haircut Tuesday.
This haircut suits you.
And the Bank of Canada has in fact cut the policy rate yet again by 25 basis points, so we've gone from 2.5% to 2.25%, which is obviously going to provide a bit of relief for those of you with variable rate mortgages or home equity lines of credit. There was some speculation that given that inflation came in a little bit hotter than anticipated, that the bank would pause at this particular meeting. But I think there is evidence to support that in the past, where they were sort of targeting an inflation rate of around 2%, maybe given this new economic environment that's permeating the globe.
Could you be more specific?
3% is a more tolerable, reasonable number. I think there might be another rate cut coming the next meeting. Who knows? Time will tell. Some people are going to, well, actually, in fact, let's talk about fixed rates versus this variable rate. As we know, the two are not directly linked to each other. Fixed rate mortgages are dominated by the bond yields, and those bond yields can be up or down depending what's happening in that country economically, trade-wise, geopolitically. They shift. They don't run in step with the variable rate. So to that point, I've added a new feature to the channel. Once we've gone through the inventory data, there will be a rate sheet that's posted that basically gives you the breakdown of what each term of mortgage goes for, fixed or insured versus uninsured. It's good information to have. Should have had it up a long time ago. Anyhow, we're adding that to the data at the end of the inventory information. So a lot of people are going to tell you this rate cut, although it isn't directly affecting fixed rates, is going to help stimulate the market. Perhaps it will. Obviously, it increases affordability. But there are some things that are pushing up against that thought process. And the first thing that I think we have to look at is, well, certainly in my data for the preceding 4 weeks of ad libs, I'm not seeing an upward trend. The percentage is sort of holding to be the same. Yes, inventory has dropped a little bit. Sales are keeping pace with that inventory percentage-wise, so it's kind of a flat market. But what would be pressing up against interest rates, creating or further stimulating the housing market? Well, the aforementioned tariff uncertainty, I think, is playing a pretty big role. It's making it difficult for businesses to plan. And obviously for the auto sector, it's making it very difficult for them to stay in business, as we're hearing more and more bad news come out of that part of the market. That then, connects to unemployment, which is at relatively high levels, both here in Ontario and throughout the country. Another thing that we've mentioned on this channel is immigration, or the effects of that level of immigration being trimmed or actually reversing. I think we're seeing that have a direct effect on the housing market. There isn't as much demand for that, and we know there are a lot of condos coming on stream this year and next year, and a lot of new rental projects. So that also lends itself to the final point, which is inventory, which is what this channel is all about. Inventory is rising. We are at, relatively high inventory levels across the board, which is something we didn't see when the prices were as high as they were a few years ago. So those four things are definitely pushing back against the lower interest rate stimulating the market, in my opinion. And I think it's important to reference the overall effect of that, which is I don't truly believe that there is a housing shortage. I mean, if you just look at the inventory, you can see there's plenty of properties available, condos and houses. Yes, maybe in some neighborhoods there's not a lot of supply. In others, there's quite a bit. So I think it's not a housing crisis as far as a shortage of housing. I think it was affordability, and I think we're starting to see a shift in that affordability, and that does not, in my opinion, mean a market crash for the housing market. I just think that we're starting to see right now is softening prices, and that's not across the board. So there are areas that will represent a better buy versus what their peak value was, as opposed to other neighborhoods. Prime areas in downtown Toronto are going to be relatively stable, haven't seen as much erosion. If you go a little bit further afield to the suburbs, east and west and north, you're going to see a greater degree of pull down from the peak prices. So there are a few things that we need to consider if you're thinking about selling into this market. If there's a relativity for it, or there's just an absolute need to do it, or perhaps there's an opportunity that you have elsewhere in the housing market or in some other investment opportunity. Three things that are very important to consider: the aforementioned macro versus micro. Where does your house or your condo sit? What's the competition like? Is there high inventory? Is it known to be a good neighborhood? Is it sought after? Are there amenities in the area that support a higher value? So there's the micro and the macro. You have to know your market. The other thing that you need to really consider right now is presentation. A house that requires a ton of work or a condo that requires a ton of work is going to be sold at a discount, at a greater discount than a house that is considered turnkey. I've spoken of this before. If you're providing an opportunity for a buyer to basically open the door on closing and just put their furniture into it because you've taken good care of it, it is updated or renovated, it has the best of the modern conveniences, it's in a great neighborhood, those sort of benefits get the buyer excited, and you will generally see you're still getting handsomely rewarded even in this market. Conversely, if your house or condo needs a lot of work, not as many buyers are prepared to take that on. Obviously, there's a lot more effort. It's called sweat equity.
Sounds like hard work to me.
Experience tells me that that's where the opportunity really lies, and it sort of goes back to that old adage, you make your money when you buy. Well, you're going to be working for it, but that's where you're probably going to see the greatest reward in the future. And again, you're never really going to be able to time the market that you buy at the absolute bottom or that you sell at the absolute top. So macro versus micro, presentation, obviously very, very important. And the final point, in my opinion, is you got to get it right. You can't keep bouncing around from price to price, changing your strategy, elongating your marketing period. Buyers' confidence and excitement comes from seeing a product that's available to them that maybe is a little bit unlike anything else and seems to be good value. So you have to really figure out what that value is. You have to be on the same page as your realtor. Sometimes I have to turn down a listing just because we're not in alignment on the value, and I just don't want to mislead somebody into the market, and I don't want to take on the responsibility and the commitment that I give to my client that's going to be required to get it to sell if we're not on the same page. But more to the point, the buyer loses their excitement for your property to a certain extent if they know it has listing history where it's been high, low, bounced around on the market 30, 60, 90 days. You have to provide the excitement, and the other old adage is you only get one opportunity to make a good first impression. How does that go? Well, you know what I'm saying. You got to get it right the first time. Let's get a look at that inventory story and that new rate sheet.
Is that the inventory?
Yes.
Thanks for watching, everybody. If you're finding this information helpful, valuable, please feel free to share, pass it along. If you're following along on YouTube, like, subscribe. And until the next episode, this is Mike Brown with RE/MAX, uncovering the real estate of real estate here in the GTA and Southwestern